Hi, everybody. Good morning. It is May 18th. I did not know the day. We're going to start today with a do now. This week, we are talking all about gender, sexuality, and all the different parts that go into our identities. So, first, we're going to start with a little warm up. What do you see in this image? What does it make you think about? And what's a question that you have? So on your Google document, go ahead and answer the do now questions. If you need to, pause the video now. Okay, so I'm really curious to read what you all wrote for this. Something that this makes me think about, or that I noticed, is that the girls are talking about babies, nail polish, weddings, cutesy hearts. So the girl is talking about things that are like girly or that society says are girly. And that makes me kind of upset because I feel like there are a lot of other things that girls can talk about. So that's just my thoughts. I'm excited to read yours. This week, we're going to be talking about the difference and explaining gender and sexuality. So, we're talking about two different components of our personal identities. As we grow up, we are in the process of developing and understanding who we are and what goes into that. And there are a lot of different parts of our identities. So over here, I have the genderbread person. And there is your gender identity that goes into who you are. It's your attraction, so your sexual orientation, who are you attracted to? Your expression, so how do you look to others or act? And then finally, the sex that you were assigned at birth. So we're going to go through these four different terms today so that we can better understand what are the things that make up who we are and how we see ourselves. So the first word that we're going to define, and this is on your handout, is spectrum. And this word is used for a lot of different contexts, and it means a range of a lot of different possibilities. So a range of different possibilities. Um, all people, all people's biological sex, sexuality, and gender all fall on a spectrum, meaning that there are different possibilities. Um, so we're going to run through each of these and talk about them, what these different possibilities can look like. So the first is biological sex. And this describes a person's biological combination of hormones, organs, genitals, and chromosomes. So here's the spectrum. There are male biological parts like the penis, the testicles, and others. There are female biological parts like uterus, eggs, vagina. And there are also individuals that are intersex, which means they might have certain biological organs like a vagina, but their hormones, they might have more testosterone, right? So a lot of people fall into a middle category of having combinations of both typically male and female biology. So you might be thinking, okay, but like, why, how? Like, how do I have a vagina? Or why do I have a penis, right? Like, biological sex is so random. How is it determined? So it is determined by the male and female sex cells, the sperm and the egg. So I'm going to play this pregnancy video. Basically, and we've learned this in the past, or hopefully we have, all people, female, biological females have eggs. Eggs is their sex cell, and biological males have sperm as their sex cell. This actually determines the sex of what the baby will be. So this happens right at conception, right when a person is getting pregnant. So what happens is the sperm can either have a Y or an X chromosome. So there's a bunch of different sperm all swimming around inside the testicles. And when a male ejaculates, These sperm swim up through the vagina into the uterus. And some of these sperm have a little X chromosome. So, like a part of it has a certain part of DNA, and some have a Y part of DNA, a Y chromosome. Depending which little sperm, which one reaches the egg right here, that determines if it's a male or female child, biologically male or female child. So here's an example, right? So if the egg from the female, these are always X's. They always have X DNA, X chromosomes. But the sperm can be X or Y. So let's say a Y sperm reaches the egg. Then this fetus, this baby, will be biologically male. If an X sperm reaches the egg, that means that the fetus, the baby, will be biologically female. So there's about a 50% chance anytime someone gets pregnant, a 50% chance that it'll be a biological female or a biological male or something in between, right? So while this might be confusing, it's important to know that your biological sex is determined before you're even born. So you might be thinking then, okay, but like, how is this different than gender, right? And it is different than gender. So the next word we're going to look at is gender identity. So regardless of, penis, vagina, intersex, the biological parts a person has, their gender identity is separate. This is how a person in their head thinks about themselves, how you see yourself. This is based on society's expectations about how people should look, think, act as someone of a specific gender. So, what society tells us every day, right, through media, maybe teachers, maybe adults in your life, your family, is that gender means boy or girl, right? Either I'm a boy or a girl. And because, so thinking about me, Miss Anelski, my biological sex is female. I was born female, and I identify as a woman, as a female woman. Some people, though, are born with biological male or female parts, but they might identify as something different. Some people go by she, her, or he, him, or they, them. And this is your gender identity. This is how you feel and see yourself. It is unrelated to your biological sex. So the next word we're going to define is gender expression. And this is the way that you present your gender through actions, clothing, and behaviors. So again, for my example, me, Miss Anelski, I was born a biological female, and I identify as a woman, and I express being a woman in many different ways, right? And everyone expresses things differently. I don't see myself as like a super girly girl. I don't really like wearing dresses. I don't really wear makeup very often, but I express myself through what I wear, right? I like comfy, kind of athletic clothes. I like to do sports, but I also like to sometimes get my hair done, right? So my gender expression is specific to me, and it's on a spectrum, right? No one is 100% girly or 100% super manly. We all exist on this spectrum where we are expressing ourselves differently. Okay, and finally, and I know this is a lot of information for today, the last part of our identity that we're going to talk about today is sexual orientation. And this is a person's romantic, emotional, physical, and or sexual attraction to another person. So there are a lot of different words that you might have heard before that describe sexual orientation. I identify as someone that is straight, right? Because I traditionally like or am attracted to people of the opposite sex from me. But this is a spectrum. It's always on a spectrum, right? People exist either in the middle, or you might have heard of the word like lesbian, right? Two women who show affection for each other, or gay, two men that show affection and sexual attraction for each other, or bisexual, people that show or feel attracted to people of the same gender or opposite gender. Um, so just like everything else we've talked about, sexuality exists on a spectrum that can change throughout your whole lifetime. you're going to do next to better understand all of these words is watch 4 different videos and answer the questions. So again, to review, we've got 4 different spectrums that help make up our identity, who we are. The first is gender identity. How do you see yourself? Do you feel like you're somewhere in the middle, maybe a man? Do you identify as a woman? And this is something that some people know right away. They know the minute they're like 4 or 5, they're like, I know I'm this. And other people spend their whole lives kind of like figuring out who they are. How do they want to present? How do they identify? The next is sexuality, right? So who are you attracted to? Heterosexual would mean liking someone of a different gender, and homosexual would mean feeling affection or sexual attraction towards someone of the same gender. And then bisexual, right, is in the middle. And there's many different points along the spectrum. We've got gender expression. So do you present yourself as mostly feminine, mostly masculine, or maybe somewhere in the middle? Everyone falls somewhere differently on the spectrum. And then finally, biological sex. So some people are born with all female parts and hormones, and some people are born with all male parts and hormones, and some people have a mixture of male and female hormones, male and female anatomy. So we all are always figuring out who we are and where we fall on these different spectrums. And if you're looking at this right now being like, oh my God, this is like a lot to take in, that is completely normal. Okay, so like I said, your task, you're going to go watch the video for new each key term. You're going to answer the questions in complete sentences. If you've got questions while you're working, feel free to add to the question box. Here I am on the handout, right? We are here. We just did our notes. And so now what you're going to do is go click on the video, watch the video, and answer the question. If you're confused about some of these, feel free to reach out. But all I'm looking for is that you're trying your best. That is it for this video. If you've got questions, text me, email me, reach out to a friend. And I look forward to reading your work. That's it.